Um, Yesterday evening we had a discussion with Kalle and Helena about stabilization of the basic state, and then the we discussed the arc of openings and perfections, and especially perfections, and how confidence in oneself as a Buddha grows throughout that journey of perfecting the bhumis. And then I also discussed a little bit how it feels from the inside, how it feels to how living feels like after the perfection of 10th. So I discussed like peaceful expression of the basic state, wrathful expression of the basic state, passionate, sexual expression of the basic. Well, I didn't really talk about that, didn't I? Sexual expression, but I said that the basic state, because emptiness body and enjoyment body, Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya are not different. They are same, but in Buddhism they are separated because it is the Dharmakaya when it's distorted. That's how ignorance is born. So in Buddhism, my interpretation is that Buddhism was started by a family of Mahasiddhas as a remedy to fix Hinduism. Because Hindus even today don't know. There's actually a whole bunch of Buddhists who also don't know this, or don't understand it. But if we don't remove our dualistic ignorance, our sense of self, we are trapped. And that's it. We are trapped with blissful experiences, and that's exactly the situation with many Hindu practitioners' approaches, vehicles, methods. So my understanding is that Buddhism wasn't really supposed to become a new religion, but it was, well, even if it wasn't meant to fix the old one, it would have been a way to fix the old one, right? But that hasn't happened. And also Buddhism has kind of most of Buddhism anyway is kind of wonky. You could say distorted because there is so much emphasis on emptiness. Maybe too much. And then you have, practices that don't work at all or don't work so well, so people never get to grow out of emptiness. People never get to realize the two bodies, the full realization. There's just stump of the other one. That's a tragedy. So, two bodies. Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and then there's the third one, Nirmanakaya. But in my understanding, Nirmanakaya is just Nirmanakaya. What it means is that we inhabit these bodies, human bodies, physical bodies, and then somebody who realizes Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is the emptiness of all phenomena. All phenomena empty, without self. That's Dharmakaya. That's the body of Dharma, body of reality. And when that is realized by somebody in a body, I think that is the meaning of Nirmanakaya, like an embodiment. I forgot what's the exact meaning of Nirmanakaya, but I think that's like it is said that, for example, Shakyamuni Buddha was a Nirmanakaya Buddha because he was in a physical body. So emptiness body, enjoyment body, and physical body, or in a physical body. Realized Dharmakaya in a physical body. That's a Nirmanakaya Buddha. But then when somebody who's realized emptiness is a Nirmanakaya Buddha, also realizes, uncovers enjoyment body, Sambhogakaya, I guess even then it's said in Buddhist tradition that then it's also a Nirmanakaya. But anyway, yeah. So we also, this morning in breakfast table, we discussed a little bit about what I have said during a couple of sessions about this mandala thing and sacredness of life. When we are trapped in samsara, in our self-based, contracted, narrow-minded, short-sighted little prison, we cannot see that all life is perfect as itself. That very, do you say livingness? The fact that everything is alive, it's pure and it's sacred. Everything. Anything alive anywhere. This doesn't, of course, it doesn't remove or make samsara go away. It doesn't. But the point is that we can perceive life from this our own Buddha nature, which makes life seem very different than how it looks when you have, these, horses, race horses have these, how do you say, view blockers? Blinders. So it looks and feels very different when we don't have those. And so from this experience comes like mystical visions, pure visions. And what are pure visions? Pure vision is a term of the Dzogchen tradition. I don't even remember the Tibetan term for it, but pure visions, these are not special visions into pure lands or realms or nothing. This is that we perceive the sacredness of life. And kind of we easily get carried away by fancy ancient or Asian concepts such as mandala. That's a really sexy word, isn't it? Mandala. But when we graduate from the purification process, we simply start perceiving ourselves. Of course, we already know that we are perfectly awake. Thoughts become weightless because we have seen that they have no solid self in them. So, thoughts are weightless, they come and go, and then we are perfectly awake, even during sleep, even during dreams, and there is no change in our condition. No change. Just things happening in our mind, things happening in the outside world, with our family members, loved ones, friends, chores, going to buy groceries, whatever it is. Things just happen. And it kind of feels like, the experience feels like there is presence, but you're not there, even though you are there. But it feels like, you're weightless yourself. You don't have that kind of samsaric weight that perhaps I at least, I can say that, especially when I was married, and even after that, being tired and irritated, like I explained yesterday, and anxious and all that, you constantly have weight. So you go with that samsaric weight to, completely ordinary everyday situations, such as buying groceries or have coffee in a cafe, or constantly have weight. But you don't have none of that weight, not even feather-light weight. Once the whole subtle body is cleared, the 10 bhumis are purified, and that's the meaning of emptiness. You don't have weight. So it's kind of like, there is presence, but you're not there. It's completely effortless, and things just happen. And when things happen, there is tremendous joy in completely ordinary things. It's like a basic joy. So there is a point, and it's fantastic that there is one. There is a point when life, we can really truly enjoy life instead of feeling that weight of samsara. And like I said yesterday about that wrathful, I don't think there is a way to finish purification process without tantra. Theoretically, it's there. Like I explained yesterday about the, how basic prayers and bodhisattva vows, how they, even though they are non-tantric practices, they tap the whole energy body. So theoretically, it's possible that one might finish the purification process without getting empowered into tantric practices. But this is, I have never met such a person. There has probably been like a bunch of them in history, but not in recent history. But so in Tantric deities, such as the ones that we just practiced, they are peaceful deities, kind of just peaceful, serene, beautiful, like beautiful, harmonious music. And then there are the wrathful ones, the heavy metal folks, thrash metal folks, punk music, wrathful deities. And then there are the red ones related to passion, lust, desires, addictions. What else? Then there are the, we have a wrathful healing Buddha, wrathful medicine Buddha. But nevertheless, that's a medicine Buddha. So it has like a more like a healing quality, healing light. So, like we have that in Pemako, we have that kind of collection of tantric deities, archetypes that we become those archetypes. And when we do, through our purification process, and when we graduate, especially the purification process, we are those deities. We have become the deities. We are no longer in this position, but we are the deities. Just like somebody who purifies the 10 bhumis, we are no longer lower or higher than all Mahasiddhas of the history, such as Big Boss or Yeshe Tsogyal. I call him Big Boss because it's a well, it's a my way of revering him. But he's also a boss, right? So my nickname for him. But yeah, when we graduate, just like a bunch of people in our Sangha already has, there's no difference whatsoever. And haven't I been saying this for years? I've said that, for example, that we can use Guru Yoga as a tool, as a technique to measure how much change there is between our ordinary state and then when we practice Guru Yoga. And we can also use Bodhisattva vows, Bodhicitta prayers in that capacity, testing how much we have to go. But when you finish the 10, then there is no change. So yeah, yesterday I mentioned about the sorry, I forgot to find that Sahaja Yogini Chinta quote, but Carl, do you have your phone? Can you try to find it?
I have to spell her name.
So anyway, in Sahaja Yogini Chinta's quote, well, you can find it from the internet. I got it from a speech. I don't think I put it in the blog.
It's somewhere on Facebook anyway.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, not to waste your time, Sahaja Yogini Chinta was listing like a really common peaceful states, and then kind of samsaric states, and then turn the whole thing upside down by saying that all this is expression of the natural state. And what she means is that, like I just said, we become peaceful deities, wrathful deities, passionate deities, and healing deities. We untap those qualities of our own basic nature, and we express those qualities. Was it yesterday evening when we were discussing this, and I said the term appropriate response. Yesterday I was also joking about an inappropriate response, like if there was some samsaric hassle, a fight, a chaos, a violent, aggressive situation perhaps, we would be complete idiots and fools if we just sat and serenely smiling Buddha floating feet above the ground. That would be total nonsense, wouldn't it? So that's not what Buddhahood means. That would be a fixed position, wouldn't it? But again, we can, like Guru Rinpoche and many other Mahasiddhas have exemplified, as Mahasiddhas, as fully realized beings, they have done an appropriate response by being dynamic and wrathful and fierce. One of the stories that I remember from, there are many other stories that I don't remember, but one story about Guru Rinpoche and one of his close disciples who, there was this like a local king or a local lord who started a chase, like destroying Buddhist temples, even killing monks, killing practitioners, Buddhists. So there was this lord back in the day. And then one disciple, a close disciple of Guru Rinpoche, came to Guru Rinpoche and asked that, this guy is, and his army is doing this, and there's of course a vast bad karma coming from that. So can I go and kill the warlord? And Guru Rinpoche said that yes, you can go. And he went and he did. And I think that's a Dharma story. That's a story of from the life of Big Boss and his disciple. That exemplifies what the Dharma is. It's not just calm abiding. It's not about sitting in one's own peace. That's just, beginner stuff. Dharma is about reality, and our surrounding reality is what it is, and we are in it. Right? We're in it. When we pray for all sentient beings, it means those sentient beings. But this being a samsaric realm, there's a lot of stupid, crazy things happening around us. And that's exactly, even normal, sane people, they don't, there is kind of an appropriate response that normal, sane people have. You can't just turn your face about all the difficult and hard things that happen in the world. So yeah, even with dynamic, wrathful activity. Oh, there it is. Who posted it? Ugi. So here is the quote from Sahaja Yogini Chinta. It goes like this: activities that are graceful, heroic, terrifying, compassionate, furious, arrogant, possessive, and envious, all without exception, are perfect forms of pure, self-illuminated wisdom. Yes! And of course, there will be some Osho somewhere who completely distorts that and takes advantage of that and abuses and manipulates his or her students because of Sahaja Yogini Chinta. But that's just the way how samsara is, right? But the way how I understand Sahaja Yogini Chinta is exactly like I explained. So when there is furious, arrogant, possessive, and envious, what looks like that on the surface, it is just a wrathful expression. And there is no contraction, no heat afterwards, no ill intention. It is just expression of who we are. And then that passionate part of us, we are biological beings and we are sexual beings, and the name of one of these Buddha bodies or one basic quality that we have is that of enjoyment. I'm kind of trying to think how to say this. Enjoyment. There has also been a lot of abuse and manipulation in all religions, and that keeps going on, about sexuality. All kinds of, um, I can give you this special transmission if you just come with me to my chambers, and I'll give you this very special transmission, and it will help you, right? This kind of bullshit. One of my kind of, sometimes the stories are they're so nuts that, you just cry about it. But then, of course, there's always victims involved. So at the same time, it's very sad. But one of my favorite stories is of this guy, a Christian priest in Southern America. This was like 10 years ago or something. 10 years ago in the news. There was a Christian priest who was, at first, he got trained as a priest in some local congregation, but then he got into conflict with the head priest and he started his own. And, part of the group followed him into his new church. So they had kept doing the same kind of rituals and practices that they had before, but then 2-3 years went, and this guy, he told the congregation that he had these divine revelations and visions and experiences directly from God, and that, believe it or not, but my semen is now holy. It is. I'm telling you, it is. And then the people had been stupid enough. They had been, I don't know, convinced or had faith or believed the guy so much that, he was able to further convince for the women and for the men to offer their wives for him to get a share of that holy semen. And then, like a couple of years again went by, and people started, well, I'm feeling exactly the same before. Like, I'm getting my loads of cum on my face, like every Sunday after the church, and I'm swallowing it, and he's giving it to me, but I don't feel any more divine or godly or pure or. So that's when the congregation started. I think you have cheated us. Well, it's like a whole different topic or matter. We live in the West, in Western Hemisphere, and we live in a post-Christian culture, right? And even though very few actually practice Christianity, are practicing Christians, there is a very very strong influences from Christian tradition, and related to sexuality, those influences are like that sex and sexuality is a bad thing, isn't it? It's something that is kept under the lid. There is a lot of change. Like a couple of years ago, I didn't watch television for a long time, and then when I started watching it again, I realized that there's a lot of programs that discuss sexuality, but still I think it is pretty much a taboo. So that's just the kind of the world view of sexuality in post-Christian West. And I think that this is something that we need to understand, we need to be aware of. But I don't have any plans to introduce sexual practices or have secret sessions with any of my students anytime, but historically, this is kind of interesting. I talked about this with a couple of friends who are Tibetan Buddhists, couple of them lamas, and they have told me that in Tibet, that's a very different culture. They didn't have that kind of sex is bad. They never had that story through their religion, through their culture. So they feel very different about it. I had a Sangha friend visit me earlier this week, and he's married to an African woman. And he told me that it's the same thing with Africans. Even though African is largely Christian, African people they don't feel bothered about sexuality, and they are very open about their sexual expression. And I think that's very healthy. Of course, it's when you start thinking about it, the whole history of sexuality in Christianity, it's people have actually worn pants made of steel at some point, and hold the forbidden fruit, and it's so distorted that it's awful. But it's the typical propaganda, typical manipulation of religious men, isn't it? And it happens in all religions. So I don't know how I got to discuss about priests in Southern America and so on, but my experience is that also our sexuality is part, of course it's part of us. It's hanging right there. So, and I haven't cut mine off, so it's still hanging there. But what I'm trying to say is that it is also part of our natural state, sexuality and sexual enjoyment. And this is what I think, there is this one fantastic Tibetan Lama called Dr. Nida. He wrote a book a few years ago about Karma Mudra. There is Kama Sutra, like a sacred tantric sex, but there is Karma Mudra, is more particular to Tibetan yogic traditions. Karma Mudra, practicing sex as a dharma practice. So he has spoken about this in his book. I haven't read his book, but I've listened a couple of his lectures, and it's just fantastic to hear that he has the courage to speak about it. Because most Western lamas or senseis in Zen tradition, not to mention Theravada. Theravada is mostly monastic, so they don't say anything. They just put their pants more tighter. But no Zen teachers or Western Vajrayana teachers, the vast majority of them don't say anything about sexuality, not even a word. And I think one reason for that is that even if they said, they would be branded and marked, because it's such a taboo because of the post-Christian culture. But I think that's just weak. It's the same bullshit, just continuing in a different form. Same bullshit that has been happening in previous religions. It happens with the new religion of Buddhism. Too weak. So Dr. Nida is one of those who express these thoughts well, and explains how we can be sexually whole And that's of course a big issue, big integration for us, accepting and understanding our sexuality. So our basic state is clear, sober, wakeful, complete, grounded, peaceful, harmonious in any situation, has no ill will in any situation, doesn't try to manipulate or control, change things in that way, change things in any situation. Let's sit a few minutes.
I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. I vow to liberate all sentient beings. I vow to end all self-based confusion. I vow to exercise the Dharma that frees. I vow to attain the great perfection. take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in his pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in his pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in his pure land. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I am the Guru. I'm in the Pure Land. I am the Buddha. I am the Dharma. I am the Sangha. I am the Guru. I'm in the Pure Land. I am the Buddha. I am the Dharma. I am the Sangha. I am the Guru. I'm in the Pure Land. I am the Buddha. I am the Dharma. I am the Sangha. free. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. All beings are free. All beings are free. All beings are free. May all beings receive my accumulated merit. I dedicate the merit to the refuge and to all sentient